Welcome into the dish. Courtney Cox here alongside Darren Hartwell, and it's time to talk MLB midseason awards. So Darren, I want to start with the AL. I want to start with the young guys. Rookie of the year, if the season ended today, it's got to go to Michael Fulmer, right?
Yeah, Michael Fulmer's been one of the best rookie pitchers in the AL. He's only 23 years old. He's got a 9-2 record already. A bit of a small sample size, but if he keeps this up, right now I think he's the AL Rookie of the Year.
All right, well, we can't forget about the National League. Let's talk rookies, the young guys in the NL.
Yeah, I'm going with Corey Seager for this one, shortstop on the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's only 22 years old, and he's kind of looking to be that next in that wave of young shortstops like XANDER, BOGAERTS, Francisco Lindor. He's kind of the National League's answer to that. He already has 17 homers at the break, hitting .300, and also plays great defense.
And who's your pick for Cy Young in the National League?
This one's an easy one. It's got to be Clayton Kershaw. He's on the DL right now. He's having some injury issues, but he's been absolutely dominant. He has 9 walks in 18 starts, which is just absurd. So he's been basically shutting down every opponent. So as long as he stays healthy, this is his award to lose.
All right, well, last but certainly not least, we got to talk about the probably most important award, the MVP. Who you got in the AL?
Well, this isn't a very exciting pick, but I'm going to go with Mike Trout again and the Angels. He's putting up great numbers again. Given where the rest of the team is and where he's playing, I think he's got to be the MVP again.
In the National League?
I'm going with Kershaw again. I just think he's too dominant. Pitching's kind of the main thing in the National League. It's kind of pitching dominant, so I got to give it to Kershaw.
Awesome stuff, and we will come back later to talk about the second half of the season. But first, let's send it to Sam Galanis to talk about our Red Sox.
Boston's offense was on fire for the first half of the Major League Baseball season, and there are a few stars the Red Sox can thank for that. The number 3 star is Mookie Betts, who's been tearing the cover off the baseball and was red hot going into the All-Star break after batting .450 in the first half of July. The young right fielder has been showing tremendous power too, launching 18 homers in the first half to match his 2015 total and make him a complete 5-tool player. XANDER Bogaerts is number 2 on the list, and he's been among MLB's best hitters all season. Add that to his steadily improving defense at shortstop, and you have a player who's going to produce for the Red Sox for years to come. But our first half MVP is none other than David Ortiz, who's going out with a bang in his retirement season. Big Papi hit 22 home runs before the break, giving him 525 in his career to pull ahead of legends like Ted Williams, Frank Thomas, and Willie McCovey on the all-time list. The 40-year-old Ortiz is putting up career numbers across the board and could even be up for American League MVP consideration come October. Now we're going to toss it to Michaela Vernava, who's with OddsShark's Joe Osborne, to talk about which teams are good second-half bets.
Let's jump into some futures. What do you say?
Sounds good to me.
All right, well, the Chicago Cubs are huge favorites to win the World Series right now, but you don't see a whole lot of value in that pick. Why is that?
Well, I don't, and the Cubs have been favorites pretty much all season. They're coming in at around plus 325 right now, and I see no value in that. I actually think it's a bit of a ripoff. Reason being, there's still over 70 games left to be played in the regular season, so anything can really happen between now and then. Injuries, they might just start to stink, who knows? But say, for example, everything does go to plan, no one gets injured, they keep kicking butt, and they finish the regular season with the best record. It's only happened 6 times over the last 30 years that the team with the best regular season record actually won the World Series. Only one of those teams was from the National League.
Well, now, who are some good value picks heading into the break then?
Okay, if we're looking for value at this point of the season, I think what we want to do is look at teams who are on the cusp of being a contender. So I have one team from the American League and one team from the National League. The Houston Astros are currently 20-1. They've been one of the best teams in baseball over the last 6 weeks. They, of course, made the playoffs last year. So I think with the young squad they have, their pitching starting to come around a little bit. They might be a team to look at. Over in the National League, I like the St. Louis Cardinals at 33-1. This is pretty much the same team that won 100 games last year. They're right within striking range for a playoff spot, so I can't see you getting any better value on any other teams this season.
Joe, thanks so much for your insight. You can get more great advice like that on oddshark.com. Make sure to keep it on NESN.com for all your MLB news.
All right, Zach, Red Sox first half, mostly good, kind of some bumps along the way, but for the most part, hard to complain on what they did. Let me ask you a couple questions for the second half. First one, I want to ask you this. Which player not on the Red Sox Major League roster right now will make the biggest impact in the second half?
I'm going to go with a player who's not even in the Red Sox organization at all right now, though he was at some point. I'm going to say Oakland A's starter, Rich Hill. He's a trade target. He's been linked to the Red Sox. The Red Sox obviously need starting pitching depth. Their starting pitching has been so top-heavy this year. They got those top three guys in Price, Wright, and Porcello that are doing well. Beyond that, kind of a mess. I like Rich Hill. He'll be an affordable guy. He is a guy that has been in Boston previously, and he's having a better season this year than he ever had with the Red Sox. And I just personally don't think the Red Sox are going to part with the necessary prospects that it would take to get a guy like Chris Sale or even a Julio Teheran. I think Rich Hill could be a good affordable piece for them if they want to bolster that area.
I'm going to stay internal and go with Joe Kelly. He said last season he preferred starting. Even said when he was closing in college it bothered his arm a little bit. So that gives me some reason for pause outside of the overall, ineffectiveness that he's had this season. But I still think they have a need for a power arm at the back end of that bullpen. We've seen the potential that he has. And we've seen transitions like this work across Major League Baseball, so I think there's a chance that Joe Kelly could come out and actually make an impact at the back end of that bullpen. So we'll move along, and I'll ask you another question as long as you'll give me the time here. I want to ask you this. Which player that underachieved in the first half will bounce back in the second half?
I'm going to go with a guy I mentioned before, David Price. And underachieved he wasn't by any means bad in the first half, but when you're paying a guy over $200 million, the most expensive contract for a pitcher ever, you're not going to be satisfied unless you're getting Cy Young level stuff from this guy, and he hasn't been given that so far. He's been good. He's been way better than I think his stats would indicate he has been, but he hasn't been the guy where you can throw him out and know he's going to give you 7-8 innings, 1-2 runs. He hasn't been that guy yet. I think he can bounce back in the second half of the season, and I want to see that.
I'm going to stay on the mound. I'm going to go with Eduardo Rodriguez. Rodriguez is a guy got demoted after getting lit up in Tampa Bay in his final stop before the break. He's going to get another opportunity, though, and we saw how much talent this guy has last year. It's all a matter of figuring everything out, and I think that once he gets a couple good starts under his belt, could be smooth sailing from there. I think that you'll see a better Eduardo Rodriguez. Might not be the ace that everybody wants him to be, but he'll be a lot better than he was in the first half. And so finally, to tie this all together, I want to ask you, when the regular season ends, the Red Sox will blank.
Red Sox will be playing against the Baltimore Orioles in the American League Wild Card game. I think they're going to be competitive. It's going to be those top three teams, the Orioles, the Red Sox, and the Toronto Blue Jays, really vying for that top spot in the American League East. I actually think the Toronto Blue Jays are going to take it. I think they're going to continue surging on in the second half. I like the Red Sox to stay in that picture, and once you get into that game, I'm not offering any predictions beyond that because that's kind of a crapshoot.
I'm gonna stay with you. I'm gonna say they're gonna make that wild card game. Who it's against, I'm not entirely sure. I still think teams like the Royals, or, the Houston Astros, they might make a run and get in there and push for the second spot. I think the Red Sox just have enough offense to get to that game. Concerns me a little bit what they're gonna do in that game because we've seen in the one-game playoff before where pitching can dominate, and if the bats go silent on that, then you might be a little screwed. But I think they will get into that game. They'll slug their way to a postseason berth, which, hey, that's a step in the right direction, right?
Hey, after the last couple of years, that would be a giant step in the right direction.
Exactly.
Courtney Cox here with Darren Hartwell, and it's now time to talk about the second half of the season. We've already covered the first, but a lot more baseball to play. So when you look at all these teams, who maybe underperformed in the first half that you think could kick it into high gear in the second?
Well, I'm not sleeping on the defending World Series champs, the Kansas City Royals. If anyone watched the All-Star game, Salvador Perez and Eric Hosmer played a huge role in that victory. They've been dealing with a lot of injuries in the first half of the season. So I think if they get healthy, they still have basically that same core of the World Series champs. So if they get healthy down the stretch, I think they can make another deep run in the postseason.
All right, let's look at division leaders. Anyone that you think might fall off the wagon in the second half of the season?
Yeah, I think, this could be good news for the Red Sox. I think the Baltimore Orioles could falter a little bit. They have excellent hitting. They've been hitting homers at a historic rate, but there's pretty big concerns about their pitching staff. Outside of Chris Tillman, they don't really have a consistent starter. The Orioles could falter a little bit in the second half and open up the door for the Blue Jays or the Red Sox.
Well, we're sitting here in the very middle of the season. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but who's your pick to win it all?
Well, everyone talks about the Chicago Cubs as the team to beat this season, but I'm going with another National League team, the San Francisco Giants. If you look at where they are, they have the best record in baseball right now, and I think that what sets them apart is their pitching. Madison Bumgarner and Johnny Cueto has been excellent for the Giants. So I think right now, you have that 1-2 punch in the playoffs. That really can separate you from the rest of the pack, and I think they upset the Cubs in the NLCS and go to the World Series and take care of business.
Well, that will do it for us. Thanks for tuning in to The Dish. If you like what you saw, there is a lot more baseball to be played. So keep it locked in here on NESN.com. For Darren Hartwell, I'm Courtney Cox. Thanks for watching.